Hey everybody, sorry for the wait. Just getting a few more things set up quick. How's everybody doing? So how's everybody's Sunday going? Or I guess maybe Monday if you're on the other side of the world. Or just about Monday, I guess, right? Getting back to this piece, and then I'm going to do a little bit of work on the shield as well. This guy. This is going to get some love, a little more detailing and some raising of levels in here, but yeah, pretty happy with the way this is turning out. This is coming together nicely. I was also doing some renders. I think you guys might have seen in the loading image for this stream. This is bring the window over. This is Keyshot, and this is the shield in that software rendered. And I just had the white background there, but I was using this prepackaged HDR to light it. HDRI, excuse me. So yeah, should be some cool stuff here in the next 2 hours. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer whatever you have. So let me know if you're curious about anything. Yeah. Some things around the desk and trying to get the mic away from the. I don't know if I can avoid much of the fan sound from this older Cintiq, but it's a companion too, so it's a mini. It's a little like basically a laptop, built into the Cintiq. But because I have it hooked up to my computer, I think it just automatically when it turns on, it has to cool the computer innards of the Cintiq, even though it's not running the computer right now. It's just acting as a screen, which I find a little odd. But c'est la vie. Alright, so I was working on the clouds here, or the dust cloud last time. What is it? Hi. Rocky T, what's up? Baby 92100 Able, good vibes. Rocky T, you're asking what is what? You're asking what this is, or you're asking what the shield is? This thing. Not sure what you were asking about specifically. Let me know. Santa Workshop. Thanks, man. How you doing? I haven't seen you in a minute. Busy. That's good. That's very good in these times, man. I wish I was busier with some some good work. It's been challenging lately. There's not a lot coming out this way right now, unfortunately. I think I gotta start checking more across other fields, perhaps. But also been learning Unreal, which is great. So I think that's going to open up a lot more doors. Slowly learning Unreal is, I think, a smart move for anybody to move on to right now. As virtual production is going to be ramping up everywhere, I think, more and more in the near future. And currently, too. But I think more so as life gets back to more semblance of normalcy, hopefully. Normalcy. What's the S above my perspective button? Oh, that's the Sculptures Pro button. Santa's Workshop. You're learning Unreal as well, I'm assuming. Is that what you meant by same, or just same as in other aspects? Comic legend. Do I give myself a deadline for personal projects? Not for a lot of them, honestly. I just let them go until they hit their mark. But I'm getting kind of tired of this one, so I'm aiming to be done with this sooner than later. But no, that's a challenge, I think, with personal projects too, because I think it is good to give yourself deadlines. It's funny you're asking that, because I was talking with a friend about that yesterday. And when it's like, you don't have a deadline, and there's no one like requiring anything from you for it, it's easy to just let it keep going and going and going. And to some degree, I mean, it's fine because it's a personal project, so no one really should care how long it takes. But I think there's also a danger to that too, where, you know, you can wind up just going infinitely and, you know, revising something, rewriting it, resculpting it, whatever, and what's that phrase? Like, done is better than perfect, or good is better than perfect. You know, essentially, just getting something out the door eventually, rather than infinitely getting it better, but never getting it out the door is the better move. And so yeah, some of these things have been just going on for too long. But the other side of it is, I only work on them on stream, so I only work on them in little 2-hour chunks, once every 2 weeks or once every week. So that's really why it's some of the stuff has just been around for a while, because I don't really work on them off stream very much at all, if ever, because I usually have other things going on. And the only thing I seem to really do much of working on off stream related to what you guys see is renders, typically, just to get some nice renders out here and there for promo. Sitting still, building base. Gotcha. It looks fantastic. Thanks, Comic Legend. I mean, between sculptress and perspective, with little brush icon. Oh. Yeah, that's, remember, draw size per brush. Derp. Sorry. You know, so that's just when you're selecting different brushes. If you change its size, you know, it'll keep each brush with its own size and not constantly be bringing it back to a default, or you know, if you want to go back between two different brushes and you know you want one to be very small and fine, like let's say I wanted this to be a little bit smaller so I could carve in to the clouds a little bit more, you know, but then I wanted this thing to be the standard brush to be a bit bigger. Now if I go between them, I think it should, remember? Yeah, so there you go. So one's bigger, this one's smaller, make it really dramatic. So pretty small, decent size. So that's what it does, just helps you keep those things where you want them. Oh, you can't find it? You know, it's a good question because it's funny you say that because I remember looking for it the other day and struggling to remember where it is too. But I think it would be, is it in Draw? Or is it in, I mean, I'm sure you could just Google it. I'm trying to remember where they placed it because I remember it was not in a stroke, I think, right? Is it stroke? Modifiers. Sculptures Pro, that's where that is. Or is it Transform? Yeah, I'm sorry I don't know at the top of my head. It's one of those things that I let's see, who else is chiming in? ZBrush, is there someone just using Sculptress instead of subdividing the geometry? You can check in the chat. What's up, Vasquez? Preferences draw, is that right? Yep, there you go. Thank you. West 3D Art, thank you, sir. Yeah, I feel like this should be under draw, right? It just seems to make more sense. But I get it too, it's a preference, but I just feel like, I don't know, it just makes more sense if draw was actually under draw. I don't know, seems like that'd make more sense. Or under stroke, either way, I don't know. But there you go. Thank you, guys. Okay, cool, because I don't know what it's called, sorry, yeah. I mean, I would just type in the draw size per brush. But yeah, so it's under preferences draw, so there you go. Yeah, because I just sort of like cobbled together this UI over years, you know, slowly like adding buttons, taking things away, and moving things around, and realizing certain buttons that if I bumped them, it was like, I think it was split groups. I think, is that the one I took out? No, it's split hidden, yeah. I think I took out like auto groups. There's something else I remember I had here that I took away because I was like, if I bumped it, it would take forever to process, sometimes crash, and it was something I didn't want to happen. I think it was split groups. And that's also just a problem because then you have so many groups, you have a lot of poly groups, and then you have to go and like, if you want to undo that, you can undo the main one and it'll come back to one group, I guess, or I mean one mesh, but then you have all these other subtools you have to get rid of. I think that's why I got rid of that one for my UI, because I bumped it once or twice and it was just like, oh god. Like if you have a bunch of hair or something, you know, you've done some fiber mesh or whatever, and or you group by normals and you needed to checkerboard it in some way or something, and you do split groups and it's like pfft, everything's unfaceted basically, an individual, each one's an individual subtool. It's like, oh my god, this is hell. So yeah, learned, as most of us do, from bitter experience. You guys have to forgive me, I'm a little, as I'm sure you can tell, I'm kind of tired today. It's been staying up late and just kind of, not insomniac, but just like, just hard getting back on like a more normal schedule. Not that I need to, but it's better, it's healthier. And so the last couple days have just been dragging, man. It's just been like trying to get on a more normal schedule. But it's hard. It's hard when your rhythm, your circadian rhythm is just screwed up and your body's used to a weird schedule, you know. Because I'm definitely a night person. I've always been a late night owl. I haven't been I'm not a morning person, really. I think you guys are crazy. I'm not a fan of getting up early. I'm a fan of staying up early. Staying up until it's something a.m. My friends call me a vampire because I'm always up at crazy late hours and crashing when the sun comes up. It's like, oh look, it's 5 a.m. Time to go to bed. It's terrible. And it's not always the case, but it could be pretty obscenely late or early. I'm in the same exact way with my schedule, really. Yeah. The hatred of morning birds, yeah. Exactly. Or like some neighbors of mine just moved into the unit up above me, and I'm just like, gosh, damn it. Shit. It's like they're getting up at normal hours. I think I hear them. I can kind of like hear the voices like murmuring through the ceiling, in like 8, 9 a.m. I'm just like, damn it. Why do they have to talk in the morning? But it's all my fault. I mean, if I got up at a normal schedule, wouldn't have this problem. Wouldn't have this agony, this enragement as I'm trying to sleep. Just shut up for 45 minutes. Let me go to sleep. Then you can talk all you want. I just need to get back to normalcy. But hey, as we have this freedom, I guess it's been fine to take a bit of advantage of it. But yeah, I really need to just like... And I've been just trying to really get into a better place too, of just getting some more projects done and off my plate. But just usually trying to do like something once a day now. Just trying to get... Like today I'm going to focus on one more project after I'm finished up with these two on stream and just get it done. Just get it off my plate and, you know, get paid. Because it's like... It's actually a little... It's like a no deadline gig kind of thing. So it's just like... Get it done, get the money, move on. A couple little things like that. It's like, dude, just get it done. And I'm just saying that to myself. My clients, friends, they don't really care when it gets done, but it's like I should not drag things out at this point. But yeah, we're all human. We've all got the similar struggles when it comes to time management and our creative proclivities. Struggle's real. Vasquez, you lost me on that one. You're separating C-R-E-A-M. What does the acronym of CREAM mean? I'm not sure I'm familiar with that one. Maybe I've heard it and forgot, but it's not ringing any bells. Oh yeah, and a while back I was talking, I think I was doing a stream on Twitch for this, and I haven't shown anybody actually, but I printed up finally a test print that's definitely going to be revised. As I rushed just to kind of generate supports, and I didn't think about alternatives, but so it placed a bunch around the head, and then removing them creates all these little divots that I need to figure out a better way of getting sanded down. But here is my dolphin, printed in flexible. You can see it's pretty, or it's actually elastic, excuse me, but it's pretty crazy in that it's like printing in silicone. You know, it's this really, it's really a really cool flexible material. It's really, you know, if it wasn't for the little bumps that, you know, come off of the supports when you remove them, it would really feel like a finished product. You know, as far as just the quality of it, like a rubber silicone kind of feel to it. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, I'll probably post some more stuff about that on Instagram here soon. It's got a bit less cool. Cash rules everything around me. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, sorry. Didn't know that phrase. But that is life, man. Cash, money talks and BS walks, as the phrases go. It's true. Sadly, or you know, happily, depending on what end of the spectrum you're on, I guess. You're getting that money, or if you're, you know, if somebody's agreed to do something for money that's rather unsightly. Never worked with elastic. How easy it? So to clean, I mean, it's not that bad, I guess. I mean, I haven't really like I haven't done a ton of cleanup on this. I just clipped off all the supports and have just kind of, you know, let it be here for now because it was a hell of a lot of work to get off. Even the I try to keep it minimal, but there was a hell of a lot around the face because I printed it. When it printed, it kind of printed like this inside the build platform. But I think I probably should have done it the opposite. But I was concerned because of how thin the tail is in these areas right here, and just of course the fluke. And I didn't want this to, didn't want it to deform or tear, you know. But now understanding this, and I'm going to hollow it out more because I thought this would be enough. I put a seam in there. I put a vertical, you know, negative subtraction Boolean part to create a small slit that I was going to insert the, let's see if we can get that closer, the internal skeleton into. But considering that I only created the internal cavity big enough for this piece and its linkage, you know, its spine, if you can see that tube in there, the bottom slit didn't come out because it was too close together, so the parts just welded together with the laser when it was printing. It didn't create a slit, it just sealed it. So that shows that the tolerances aren't as insanely high as some of the other materials. And I should have known that too, based upon just how large the support size has to be. Like, it can't get too much smaller than what I used already because then it won't hold the structure. So I mean, at least it held its form correctly. So at least it came out, you know, in the right shape and everything. And even like the little areas of the teeth, I don't know if you guys can see that or if it'll focus, but even like on the teeth of the mouth, the tiny little knobs, they came out, you know, little teeth through the whole thing there. But cleanup, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to try to sand down a few of these little nodules and see if they, you know, sand down well enough where maybe I could polish it, sort of like you would do for a clear material. But I'll have to get back to you on that because so far it looks like it'll just be a pain, and I don't know, after sanding it, you know, I don't know if it would be useful to do like the dip method, kind of like when you want to get, you know, material really clear. I wonder if that would that probably would work with this, I guess. You know, if it's something smooth like this, sand everything down, and then where the nodules are, just do a little thin drip of the resin over that area, let it run down evenly, and then just blast it with a laser in the handheld laser, and see if that works, you know, and then just cure it again. I don't know. It's an experiment. But it's incredible how thin some things can get on this too. I mean, like the flippers too are like super thin, and the same with the tail. And yet, when I first pulled it out, it looked great. And then when I had it washed in alcohol, the tail started doing some weird like flabby kind of like, you know, wavy shape. It had like sort of sagging a bit. And then I just left it be, put it in the cure, and then it solidified, hardened back to the original shape that it should be. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, so it's a really interesting material. I like it. I just got to figure out a better way to work with it. It's definitely unique. It's not. It's totally in a different department than the engineering or standard resins. I also have so that's elastic, the original elastic. I also have the new flexible. I have to try that out as well. But I think the new flexible is more stiff. It's got a higher durometer than elastic. So that means it's tougher. Yeah. So other thing I was going to mention is that it doesn't really flex because this is so thick around the internal tube. That makes it clear too. I have to hollow it out, but it's really thin around the face, and here it makes it easier to close the. Even though the top jaw shouldn't move, the problem here is I got to figure out how to like. I don't know if I can create this to close accurately, even with the internal structure of this, because of the way that this flexes. It could just be the density of the material right around the head, though, too, that doesn't allow it to hinge and close correctly. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I think it could just be the structure of that neck area too. It just may not deform the way it needs to, unless unless I thin out the whole cavity around there. So yeah, some other things I'm going to be thinking about doing, like hollowing out the rest of it, but still kind of having it dip in and surround the area that would need to encompass the internal skeleton, so that way then it would actually hold this in there, and yet you know, hold it in its space that it needs to be held within the center pretty much of this whole thing, and yet still allow the rest of the areas to be hollow. So it's almost like creating like a pocket, sort of, that either I can cut open with like a scalpel, with an X-Acto knife, a scalpel, or you know, excuse me, or just engineer it that way where it's like I can just sort of pop it in and it's just tight enough or just open enough that it can, you know, receive it and then close again, rather than you know, having to cut it open. So we'll see. Still work in progress. Yeah. That sounded dirtier than it should have. Yeah, sorry. Okay, well, feeling alright with this dust cloud for now. I still want to improve some things here and there, but I feel like we just gotta move on now. Trying to check to add thickness to this, if the way it's doing it through dynamics, or the dynamic sub palette, is better than if I were to do it manually. But this looks funky right here. That's weird. And why is it doing that? I guess it's got to be the geo here is just a little crammed, or a lot of crammed. Damn it. I think that's the one I moved to, isn't it? That's the part that no, it was this one. Shoot. I guess might have to do a little Dynamesh then to sort of clean that up if I go with this. Eesh. It's ugly though. Interesting. It lessens as I go down in subdivisions. So maybe let's just try this. Do a quick save. Mr. Scribble forever. What am I sculpting? Can't really tell. I guess you just jump in. This is what I'm sculpting. Continuation of my remake of Antonio Canova's original masterpiece, Psyche Revived by Cupid's Kiss. You can see the statue in the Louvre, and I think there's a couple copies elsewhere in the world. Like big ones, I mean, like same size. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. So she's got these strips of cloth covering her bits, and I'm just trying to add some thickness so that this can be printed. Mr. Squibble forever. What's the biggest... Okay, nice. Why do we have a-holes coming in here? Nice. Classy. Alright. Xeris, what is up? Alright, yeah, this area's looking a little... Yeah, it's a little weird, I guess, but it's okay. Strange how it's closing in on itself like that. Yeah, Usaris. I'm doing fine. I'm tired. I've just been in such a whack schedule lately, as I was telling everybody earlier. But yeah, I'm doing alright. Hanging in there. Chasing the work. I'm trying to find contentment with getting some other personal projects done at the same time, so... It's the same struggle as ever, I guess, right? The creative struggle, which is trying to be happy with a minimal amount of time to pour into what you really love, and then spending more of your time trying to chase money to survive and enjoy life with. And so it was that struggle. It's that pressure of getting done what you love and then still having that, you know, doing what you need to do to pay the bills, and then struggling to have energy to do what you love, but that you're almost too tired to do. It happens. It's happens more when you're in studios, but lately it's been happening too here for me, just because, you know, studios equal work, and when you can't be in the studio and you got to work at home, a lot of the same effects still happens. You do your other work, and then you're just like, my brain wants to do my personal stuff, but my body is saying I need a break, and that's frustrating. But it's life. All right, that's looking a lot better. Except here. I see. Okay, so it's those corners that are probably throwing it off. Cool. Alright. It's looking better. I think that should work. How do we do this again? I think just apply, right? So we go up even higher. Just double checking if it's still all good at the highest. Except, yeah, it's a lot cleaner. Still looks weird from these angles, but I wonder if that's just how it's reading. Well, I won't know until we try. So, quick save, and then I'm gonna apply, and I think I have to do it. I think I have to delete subdivisions, right? Or deletes it for me. Okay. Yeah, it still has that weird, like, yeah, that's strange. Why is it doing that? Edge loop down the center here, and then let me select the this whole thickness strip a little better. There we go. Interesting. I wonder if that's just on this end, or if that's like anywhere else too. No, looks like it's only on that end. Maybe on the other end too. I think it has to do with just like the polygons kind of getting scrunched. No, this side looks clean. Just here. When I was a beginner, did you ever feel watching someone being so good at art and getting demotivated, thinking if I ever will be as good as that? I mean, sure, for a little bit, but I also would counter that. I mean, I think everybody goes through that, and even still, I think some artists, look at other artists and think, man, I don't know that. I mean, I think that's very, very common. It's a very common feeling. But I think you have to remember, you have to tell yourself it's also very not true. You will only not be as good as some artists you admire, respect, or like if you decide not to be as good as them. I think if you got functioning hands and a decent machine that can handle the work you're trying to do, it's just time. It's just time and practice. Be motivated. Be positive. Just hard work, A lot of these artists, I was just watching some of, I was just reading some of Chris Costa's posts on Facebook, and oh my god, they're so good, so funny. But one of the things he was saying, though, was just that, it's like a lot of artists can make things look effortless, but it's because they've been, doing a lot of work. There's years behind those effortless looking strokes or, tasks or whatever they're doing. Yeah. It's all just, sorry, this is just busy work. It's not very fun to watch, but I'm just going to get this stuff out there quick and move on. Yeah, no, I mean, everything comes with time and hard work, right? And they have to go together, though. You have to spend a fair amount of time working hard. And by hard, I just mean that it's just spending time, right? It's an inversion of it. You just have to put the effort in, research your questions, right, and do tests, do experiments. Yeah, that's fine. Do the work, man. That's really what it comes down to. Is ugh. Yeah, I might have to dynamesh this then, I guess. I don't know. It's just looking nasty here with this thinness. That's annoying. But yeah, it's just practice, experience, you know, all that just comes with time. And people say work smarter, not harder. Sometimes you do have to just work hard. Sometimes you do have to just brute force it, you know. Yeah, there's times where you can shortcut things by being clever and finding little tricks, you know, to do or whatever. But a lot of times it just takes some brute force experience and time, and anything that's pre-made too. If you buy like brushes or kit bash kits or you know, previously modeled stuff, it's still gonna be it's still gonna look generic unless you know, it'll be identified by others as generic, or oh, I know that pack, I bought that pack too, unless you add your personal touch to it, right? So that's important, is putting your own stamp on things. Do I do any rigging? I am just learning rigging now. I've been on and off with that. I was starting like way earlier this year, and then my mentor kind of had to bail on me for a while, and I was busy with other projects anyway, so I kind of focused on those, but now I'm getting back on all that. So learning rigging now. It's a lot, and it's annoying. But I know that there's a lot of work out there, because I know that good riggers are far and few between, apparently, and I have a feeling I would be good at it only because I'm a detail freak, and try to be very conscientious about doing things efficiently and doing things very cleanly as much as possible, so that they're user friendly. Because in a pipeline, of course, you have to hand stuff off to someone else, and you don't want to hand them a mess. You want to hand them something that makes their life easier, or as easy as it can be for whatever you're handing them, instead of the opposite, which a lot of artists do, which hand over a mess. And people are like, what the hell is this? Or I can't work with this, or, you know, whatever. I've seen it happen so many times. So, yeah. But yeah, eventually I'll be doing rigging. Both in Maya, and a friend of mine have also decided to learn it in Unreal. So, double the pain. Because you can rig something in Maya, but that rig won't transfer into Unreal as far as I know. It's like every program. You can't transfer a rig from Cinema 4D to Maya, or from Maya to 3ds Max, or any in between. Each program has its rig that's unique to its own software, and they don't play nice together at all. It's not even they don't play together. They don't even speak the same language. Like, you just can't open a rig in another program. That's true, me being 23, comparing myself to artists over 40 years. They've been doing it. They have been doing it for 13 years. Joe Mena, what's up, dude? Ladies and gentlemen, the great Joe Mena has graced us with his presence. How you doing, man? It's been a while. Normally we run into each other around this, well, earlier this year, we would have run into each other already at, like, everything. Like at Comic-Con, and all the different booths there, and ZBrush Summit by now, and yeah, man, I'm missing all the ZBrush family. I'm missing seeing everybody. Okay, Tano, I asked because I'm scouring Twitter, Fiverr, looking for someone who can model rig something straight up silly before Friday. I mean, I could model it for you. Rigging it, I'd have to hand it over to... I have a good buddy of mine who could do it for you if you like. And he's fast. He's really good. So, Vasquez, what were you saying there? Let's solo this for a second. Get a perspective here.
You can export rigs as FBX, and a program will translate it. It won't be one-to-one, but you won't have to start from scratch. Am I wrong? That's a good question. I don't know, because yeah, FBX is just, you're basically, if you animate something, you're rigged to animate it. You're exporting out the baked out animation. You're exporting out basically a pre-animated set of motions. Really, is what you're doing. And that's it. So that's the challenge. Is like you rig something in Maya, and then you export it into Unreal. It's just going to be that pre-recorded animation. It's not going to be the rig where you can like move all the joints and refine that animation anymore or edit it. So yeah, that's the challenge. So that's why I'm going to be learning it in Unreal too. I think is just see how the skeletal mesh works, how their deformers work with with that. Going to send a DM. Can't wait to see your reaction. Okay, Tano. Yeah, you can send whatever you want to my email here, or on Instagram if you want. But email is Daniel@lionarts.com. Thanks, Joe. How's everything going with you, man? Are you still at the Mint? I remember you've been a staple there for a while. But I feel like you're doing more than that, or you've transferred. I don't know why. I'm trying to. I haven't seen your page in a minute. But I remember you were just doing a lot of kick-ass stuff over there, and your own personal stuff too, of course, and lots of superheroes and all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, art director. Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing that. Yeah, there was a promotion that you had. That's awesome. A lot of collectibles. Yeah. But nothing revealed for a while. Yeah, that's how it goes. I'm sure a lot of that stuff too would have been revealed at Comic-Con, but considering the cluster cuss that we're in right now is it's not helping anybody. I miss 2019. I miss normalcy. I want to go back. Just redefining some of these shapes here, and I'm not sure if I like what was done before. If I'm gonna probably just redo all these feathers using the wings that I did for Trico. I think that might be the route that I go, so I might still leave those as placeholders for now. We'll see. Let's try to finish up this cloth here. Alright, so that whole editing this edge in here is just getting painstaking. I think I'm just going to Dynamesh this and say F it. Just hopefully it keeps its thickness as it is. We'll see. What's it proportional to the grid? Alright. So we're probably going around here. Don't do that. And Dynamesh. A little janky. Let's try that again. And go into the thousands. And Dynamesh. It's got a little stair-steppy, but it's so small it's never going to be realized when the print comes out. Maybe just smooth it. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just run a smooth on this. Even a polish, maybe? What if a polish? Yeah, it's even better, faster.
Sweet. Maybe do a little bit more polish by groups. No. Features. No, just do regular polish. It's fine. Yeah, that works. Good enough. Alright, so that's what I'll do for the rest. So they have some thickness. Yeah. So Joe, you got any personal projects, or are you just so busy with all your professional stuff that it's hard to do your personal stuff? Or are they kind of one and the same at this point at all? Excuse me. Doing one figure slowly, yeah. See, I think my problem is I probably have too many personal projects going on at the same time, and so then it's like splitting my attention. That's why I was saying earlier in the stream, I'm just trying to do one thing a day now, where it's like I have too many things going on. It just feels like overwhelming and stressful and irritating. I get mad with myself because then I'm like, I'm not getting anything really moved forward that fast, and it's just more frustrating, and then it just piles up and you feel like paralyzed, and you want to go and do something completely not work related or not sculpting related just to get your brain free for a while, and then you get more. It's just just a terrible like feedback loop. So I'm just like, screw it. Just gonna do one thing a day, say F the rest, don't think about them, just get this one done, or at least 80% there, and then move on to the next one tomorrow, or something like that, so I can keep my sanity and also get things finished, because it's been too much stuff has been building up and just sort of clogging the bandwidth. The pipe is only so big, and there's too much crap going through. Sorry, it's kind of gross, but you get the analogy. It's just there's too much water, and the pipe is only this big, so you can only have so much volume, and that's, you know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, because I'm sure you've had similar experiences where it's sort of a good problem to have, but it's at the same time it's not, when you need to get some stuff done, and you're just you're just hurting yourself by taking on, saying yes to everything. We're just trying to be ambitious, but then you're only human, and you can only do so much within, you know, whatever, the 18 hours you're awake a day, or the 20 hours you're pushing yourself to do, right? Happens a lot, yeah. Why do you want to keep your sanity? It's overrated, in my opinion. Thanks, Vasquez. Who says I'm still sane? Ah! Yeah. Ugh, this area got messy. Yeesh. Where is that? In proportion to everything, in relation to everything. Oh wow, it's like back in there. Alright, well, may not need to worry so much about that. Is it even underneath? No, that's this other side. Interesting. Well, that'll be a good. If I make it thick enough, that can actually be a nice supporting element. Well, not really. It's not. It's going to be so irrelevant compared to the legs and everything else interacting with that. Never mind. Crazy talk over here. Still sane, XL. Take care, Joe. Thanks for stopping by. So here's something I'm thinking about lately. It's totally not related to sculpting, really, but just life. I miss the fall, man. Like, that's something that I remember, especially like when I was starting college, and just whenever, just this year. But there's certain memories that just sort of burn in your memory about events and times of year and smells and all that. And yeah, I just remember those painfully early mornings. For me, painfully early was probably like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever. Getting up and going, making sure I'm getting up and like on campus and like ready for, because I commuted for a lot of my college years, and making sure that I was just, getting there for that damn 8 a.m. class that I registered for, because the other ones were taken up by the time I was trying to register for whatever, biology or chemistry, whatever it was, geology, like BS stuff to fill in your gen eds, and or prerequisites for other classes, of course. But man, I remember those mornings though, and even though it was painful, like getting up and it was cold, the trees were changing colors, and that briskness after the pain of getting up is subsided, and you're warm in your sweatshirt or your jacket, and you get your cup of coffee, a latte, whatever, and you see the mist rising. You see like that morning dew kind of rising up, being heated off the grass. Those misty mornings and those orange and reds and yellows, and man, it's a beautiful memories. And Pennsylvania is where I was spent a lot of my life on the East Coast, and it's a beautiful state. Lots of trees, a lot of mountains, a lot of farmland. And yeah, I just miss seeing that in the mornings, and I miss just the bonfires and the stuff that you just don't really have as much here in the South Bay beach area, right? In Redondo, Manhattan, Hermosa Beach area where I live. It's beautiful, and don't get me wrong, I want to do my best to never ever not live near an ocean ever again. But we'll see how crazy California gets before that happens. But I may consider moving if things just keep getting worse. But we'll see. Texas might be an option, but it's just like, at the same time, Texas. It's desert, so hot. I'd have to live near a lake or something, I guess, because I have to find a lake in Dallas, I guess, or something, because I wouldn't want to just live in just a dry, flat area. That just seems like misery to me. At least, because you want to enjoy where you live. You want to enjoy the environment. You don't want to just be close to work or whatever, that's why I choose to live where I am still and not moved in toward more central Los Angeles, because I really don't like a lot of central Los Angeles. Pasadena's nice, but that's so far away from the ocean. I feel like, man, if you're in California, you're in LA, why wouldn't you live near the ocean? What's fun about living just around a bunch of concrete, and buildings and tiny little patches of grass? I mean, we have tiny patches of grass here and a lot of asphalt and sidewalks, but the ocean is just a mile and a half that way, so that's always great. And like the vibe, the attitude of people around the beach and around the ocean is always just more relaxed and friendly and usually positive. You get those good vibes going from the beauty of the ocean and the salt air. And you always have a nice breeze. Temperature isn't fluctuating too wildly ever, even when it gets really hot. Inland, it's like 20 degrees cooler over here. So there's a lot of pleasures about living near the ocean. And I guess too, because I was just away from that for most of my life. When I was younger, living in Pennsylvania, we'd take a trip to Jersey or like Ocean City, Maryland, or wherever, and Myrtle Beach every now and then. But for me, and I have a lot of friends, we wind up going to like Wildwood in Jersey, or this is way before Jersey Shore ever existed. But yeah, we'd get a house and we'd just go to the beach. But it was like an event. Like you'd spend like 4 days at the beach, or a week, or whatever, or a weekend. And it was like a thing. You're going to the beach, But it's like, it's almost like you take it for granted then once you're living near one. But it's so nice, just the environment. So anyway, but I miss the fall. So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess, because I don't think there's any climate that exists where you have those kind of beaches and you have the trees and everything right there. I mean, Jersey, you do have kind of the 4 seasons go through there. But again, who wants to live in Jersey? That's terrible. Sorry, no offense to anybody who lives in Jersey. That's hilarious. But I know I have friends who are from there or who've lived there, and they're also like, man, screw Jersey. But anyway. New York is great in the fall. Oh my God, New York is beautiful in the fall. Central Park. It's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry, it's just random musings. I miss the fall. Do you miss the Dutchies? Is it politically incorrect to call them that? I mean, it's not like they're going to know. You mean the Amish folk? All the Dutch Amish folk from Lancaster, and the population of Mennonites. That's huge there. Do I miss the Dutchies? No, not really. I didn't really interact much with our Amish friends. My mom has a lot of Amish friends. When I was younger, we would interact with them, of course. I mean, like, we were closer to them. She would hang out with them, I guess, and bring me along, and I would be so bored because, I mean, they don't even have electricity. Like, a lot of them, you know, they didn't have generators, they didn't have anything. It was just, like, oil lamps, literally, oil lamps. You have no electricity, man. So it was just strangely dark in their homes when the sunset came, and I think my mom was doing quilting. That's when she was getting closer to some of them. She was learning from them and working with them and just friendly with them because they all had a lot of common interests. When it came to, like quilting, she was getting into that, and then also spiritual perspectives. You know, not that she's Amish or anything, but you know, very conservative value family, and so there's a lot of that interaction for her. And they loved the food. I remember they would love to go to these restaurants that were owned and ran by Dutch and Amish folk, and there was a lot of great tasting food, but man, not healthy. Like, whew, gonna give yourself a heart attack if you ate that on a regular basis. But yeah, so do I miss it? Some of the food would be nice to go back and have some of that food, and I just miss the rolling hills. I do miss seeing that. I remember last Christmas when I came home, just when I went home, I just to see, like, you forget, like, even though you might grow up around a certain environment, you stay away from it long enough, and you just kind of forget. You know, you just sort of adapt to wherever you are, and you don't really, maybe necessarily always bring to mind, to forefront the, the beauty of all the environment that you've been around. And for me, I miss the rolling hills of the fields. Just seeing them, I don't really want to. I mean, they're just beautiful to look at, right? Beautiful to be in that environment too. It's a pleasure to see, but again, happier at the beach, but just miss those changing seasons and greener environments. Here too, it's just people are so packed together. You know, it's like it's barely what qualifies as a yard around anywhere here. It's just tiny little grass and then house, and right next to it another house. Everything's almost like condos or like semi-mansion, but like right next to another one. It's just like, it's too much, too packed together. Excuse me. I'd rather have a big yard and a house, a yard between each house more so than here where they're just trying to maximize income. I guess the landowners just put like one house right next to another, and I guess you go up toward the Hollywood Hills or other areas where it's like, houses here start at like 1 or 2 million or whatever, and then go to the water and they go up to like 15 million is the cheapest one, I think, or something. It's crazy. But still, that's cheaper here than if you like the Hollywood Hills or Beverly Hills or whatever. I mean, there's mansions there that are hundreds of millions. Crazy. But that's where you're going to get your yards. That's where you're going to have a lot of property, just to have space. But then a lot of times there's celebrities that live there or whatever, so then you have to have like a fence and a wall, and it's security, and then it's like your little compound. your little security barriers. Your border walls, basically. It's hilarious. So it depends where you're at. Oh man, we're already at 325. All right, I'm gonna jump up to the shield for a little bit here. Let me just see if I can turn this into another thickened piece of cloth quick, because I think we're right there. I think we're good. Okay, let's see how ugly this is now. Not too bad. This area is a little gnarly, but bring that down a second. Turn this off. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, I gotcha. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, much better. Well, stand corrected. Shit. Why? Oh. Frustrating. But whatever. It's just a little area. I can fix it. We'll fix it in post. Alright. So we'll do this. We will apply. And oh, that's a mess. Back up. Why? Why is it doing that? Oof. Ugly. Good God. Wow. Why? Did it flip like that? Oh, duh. It's creasing. Derp. That's why some of the scrap is happening. It's creasing. Creasing isn't consistent. It's not creased there. Derp. Alright. Yeah, it's an easy fix. Crease. Edge of the complete. Blam. Does that work? Interesting, though. These look... Why do these look thicker? These darker lines, but this one's not. Let me try uncreasing everything for a second. What's that? Alt. Click. Oops. And hopefully it's not like two polygons compressed. They scrunch together. What is going on here? You guys see that? There's like a darker line here, a darker line there, but this one's lighter. No, it's not creasing. Then what is going on? No, I don't think that's compressed. It's not like a smashed polygon into another. It's just... That's weird. I wonder what is going on there. Strange. Well, let's see what happens if we try this again. Now that I've undone and redone the creasing. Well, I think that is some of the issue here. That's why it's doing that funky, weird flipping. At least some of it. So I think this is just twisting, so that's just gonna have to be dynameshed, but yeah, that's to be expected. It's fine. Alright, sorry. I know this is probably not the most exciting thing, but this is how the work goes, guys. This is the process. Sometimes you gotta problem solve and troubleshoot and get into the nitty-gritty, get into the fine details here. But this is what makes work great, you know, in the end. It's just kind of attention to detail, fixing problems, finding what's wrong, fixing it, doing it right, doing it correctly, and then moving on. You gotta have patience for this kind of thing if you wanna do good work. Because laziness shows, and passion and attention to detail shows as well in the end.
So while this might seem painstaking and probably boring, I'm sorry. This is the way. Oh, I'm such a nerd. What else do we got going on here? In the Netherlands, we have rain, and wind, and occasionally wet sun. I would love to visit the Netherlands, though. I think it seems like a cool place to visit. That whole collection of countries in that area. They all seem very cool. The people are cool. I had a former roommate who was from the Netherlands, and very cool guy. I love his attitude, and the women are quite attractive over there too, I must say. There's always beaches in Long Island, and people marching, what? With Confederate flags, it seems. Okay. So beaches leaves southern values outside Manhattan. Yeah, no, I could do without the Confederate flags. That's a little extreme for my taste. I like some conservatism, but that's not conservatism to me. That's insanity when you go that far. The South lost, right? Why? What's your method? ZBrush? Sorry, Kusi Vlogs. You're asking what's my method for ZBrush? What's my method at ZBrush for what? Sorry, are you asking about this? What I'm doing now? I guess I'm assuming. I mean, I guess I could ZBrush the other one too, but I want it to be soft. I don't want it to be like hard, rigid, crisp. You know, it needs to be soft like cloth. That's why I'm creasing the edges just so that it has thickness defined. It keeps the edges defined as like, you know, its shape, but I don't want them to be like really hard lines in the end. You know, if that makes sense. Maybe try deleting the face and replacing it. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's probably something I might try as well. But it looks like it turned out okay. I'll double check quick. Try to merge verts. Could be because of a flip face. Yeah, maybe. Don't merge because that pat's too poly count. What? That part's too poly count? Teach me the way, master. Superb, good job, bro. Oh, thanks. Thank you, sir. So I think things are looking okay now. The only weird part is here. Or not, yeah, it's sort of that one, but I get what's going on here. It's just flipping over itself. Where is that, though, in relation to the model? Is that tucked right in there? Oh, wow, these are intersecting with each other. Probably don't want that to happen then either, because that'll dynamesh together, and that'll be a pain to print and insert. All right, so I gotta do a little editing there quick. See if I can just move that down, move this up. Yeah, that curve here is a little too strong, so what if I bring that down, smooth. Don't crash. Don't crash. Ah, son of a. Oh, please save. Yes. Okay. Whew. Thank God for the autosave. Okay. Let's try that again. It happens. Indeed. The autosave. What? Oh, this is disconcerting. It seems like it's got everything there except them. That's not good, but I think it also saved the... Oh, wait, didn't it save the project, but didn't... What the... The hell? So we got other project I had open working on them. So like I have my dolphin here. That's useless in this case. Got the other dolphin. Got the shield. But why don't we have Cupid and Psyche? What the hell? See, it's not here. Son of a bitch. It's just the document. Okay, well, we can add the recovered tool, so that should work. Okay, so there we go. So it's cobbled back together. Whew. Alright, let's get back in here. Okay, so quick save. I mean, not that it was like that much work, but still, I'd rather not have to redo, trying to figure out where, you know, where was the last place I touched that has been corrected. All right, so let's turn off dynamic for a minute. All right, so yeah, it's a pretty sharp transition right there. So soften it will help. Now I try again. Much better. Yeah, nice. Okay, so just checking out the rest here quick. Okay, so this is interesting. Oh, okay, so they're just disappearing at a distance. I was like, why is there no little one of these guys there? Little what do they call them? Like handles? I don't know. Points that you can use to manipulate. Alright, yep, we're looking better. Cool. Alright, yep, good to go, I think. Whatever, that's fine. So we're at the highest res now. That's a little weird, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. This looks a little funky too, but I think with Dynamesh it should be fine. And that's prominent though, that's right on the chest. Yeah, that should be alright. Okay, so let's see what happens here when we do the Dynamesh. And for those wondering why I'm doing Dynamesh instead of ZBrush, well, I want to keep the fidelity of the wrinkles and whatnot, and if I do ZBrush, it will smooth all that out, and we'll lose all the wrinkles, and then it's like, what's the point then? So, apply that, and then go run that, bring that down, Dynamesh, done. Alright, we got that regular kind of stair stepping, and now we do a little polish. Beautiful. Perfect. Just about. Yeah, that works. Do a little smooth. Alright, cool. Okay, so I'll stop here with that, and I'll get to the other cloths next time around, and then move on to their anatomy, I guess. We'll be getting back to them, finally. Leave it on. So, I'm gonna save this in the appropriate spot. Can overwrite that one. Cool. Alright. Move on to this guy for the last 20-ish minutes. Let me make sure we're on the right part here. So this is the mirror shield from, it's a replica of the one from The Last Guardian, for those who don't know what this is. Last Guardian is a great game on the PS4. Amazing game. Love it. So I'm working on some tribute pieces and a short film as a little pitch piece. And this is a prop that my action as the boy that I mocapped myself doing will be using. He'll be holding this throughout most of the short. So, it's looking cleaner. Yeah, it's a lot cleaner, man. It's I redid the whole thing kind of basically, so it's like super clean. Let me give it a more flat material so you guys can kind of get a better look at it. Yeah, from before, the first time you guys saw me streaming this to now, it's definitely been redone completely, pretty much. Yeah, this is how it looks. It's cool to see it all come together. So I just need to let's do some edits here. I'm just looking at some reference I have here on the side. There's just a little bit of bulging that's going to happen around here in the center area. I'm going to raise this up a bit, and then it kind of like tears up, so the center kind of bolts up a little bit, and yeah, so this looks like a Fiesta plate with all these colors. Sorry, I missed a bunch of chat. Everyday struggle. Hey, I'm just about to get my first freelance job. They asked me about my day rate. Not sure what to say. What is the usual starting out rate? I mean, just think of it like if you're going to spend 8 hours a day working on something or a bunch of different projects, whatever. You know, what's your hourly rate? You know, it really depends on what the project is, and you know, if you're just starting out, if it's your first gig, I mean, the low end would be like $40 an hour, I would say overall. You know, and you never want to give them your lowest, or you never want to give them like what you actually want. You want to go a little higher, but nothing insane. So, you know, I don't know, say like 55, say 60, you know, like, you know, I think 45, 50 starting out, it's kind of low, but it's also like when we're all starting out, that's sort of like around where people get started off as, if you're just doing like basic modeling or, you know, simple modeling, texturing, whatever. You know, so you could say like whatever that is, you know, say like 50 an hour, and then translate that to whatever you want, you know, or like, you know, a good day rate really would be like 600, you know, 800, 1,000. You could say more, you know, I mean, it depends on your quality, your tier, and the company and all that. I mean, I know some guys have a day rate of at least 1,000 or more. I prefer to operate in that department, of course, but that's not always in their budget, or they just don't want to pay that sometimes. So, you know, it depends. Sometimes you have to settle for like 600 a day, or, you know, somewhere around there, plus minus. So it really depends, you know. But I think more people need to talk about that. I think more artists need to be more upfront about what people should be getting paid, so that we're all elevating the tide instead of cutting each other down. Because when people start undercutting each other and I'll do it for 20 an hour, I'll do it for 30 an hour, 40 an hour, like, dude, no, you're not helping yourself, and you're sure as hell not helping everyone else who's worked their asses off to get to this point in their lives. So definitely aim for a little higher than lower, and you know, just tell them this is it. You can't sink too low, but you also have to be able to deliver. You have to have good quality work. You can't just be like, you know, slacking off and expecting them to pay you what they're paying a mid or senior level artist. So that's my 2 cents. What else? Do you ever use layers in your workflow or sculpting process? A little bit, now and then, but not all the time. It's not like I really need to shave. It's not like a daily thing. I mean, it really is like dependent on my needs, but yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think about that, and I think I should probably take advantage of layers more than I do, for sure. That's interesting. This has like multi This is kind of orange and orange. Wow, can't talk. Purple and green. It's the complementary colors for each other on the color wheel. Interesting. I was looking at this and I just think I want to thicken it up because it just feels a little thin. I know in the actual one I think there's double. It's this double line, but I don't have the space here to do that, so I'm just gonna thicken this one up. Hope that's the only one that's the poly group. All right, yeah. So invert that quick and make that one. Something that stands out. Come on, don't give me yellow. There we go. Ow. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna blur this. Come on. Work with me. Blur this a bit. And then we're going to inflate it slightly. Whoa, too much. That's a chunky Toriko head. So see what one does. Yeah, good enough. Maybe try one more, see what happens. Yeah, better. Yeah, that's fine. I like that's a little more raised. Stands out a little bit more. And that'll flow in well with what we're going to do here. So wait, what are we doing here? Y? No. Z? Yeah. So I'm just going to mask and then raise up these areas here a bit. Like Josh Groban, you raise me up. God, that got so overplayed, didn't it? It's like every wedding. I remember where there was a time when I was working in I was working at a resort, and they had several ballrooms and whatever. It's just like a vacation resort, and I just remember them always having all these different weddings, and it was like catering like crazy. So I did a bunch of catering, waitering, that kind of stuff, like right after college for a while, and I just remember hearing that song, like Josh Groban, at like every wedding. There's so many songs that are just, it's funny, like people think they're being unique or that it really, and it may mean something to them, of course. I mean, of course it means something to everybody, whatever they love is their preference. But it was just weird just seeing a certain consistency and like certain vanilla, generic, it's funny. I don't know. It's just funny things you see with humanity, just the predictability and cliche-ness of so many people. The basic people, people who just go for the same stuff that everyone else goes for, and it's just like, you couldn't be a little original, couldn't explore a little bit more. But sorry, that's kind of mean, but it was just funny observations. But let people have their cake, let people eat their McDonald's, it's fine. Anyway, to do the job, yeah. That should look clear, yeah. Marmoset Toolbag 4 beta? No, I haven't. Is it cool? What's new in the beta? I haven't really been using Marmoset much, even though I have it. I really should use it more. It's a global industry. There's some Indian someone that can work for $20 an hour. This is true. How do you do these engravings? There's a lot of different ways, but the way I did this one was I created an alpha. I made the alpha in Photoshop essentially, and so it's just white on black, and then I made it a 3D object, so it added thickness to the alpha. So all these engraving pieces or raised pieces became thick, right? And I knew what I wanted to carve in, so like this area is recessed inward versus pillowed or embossed out. So raised versus indented, I knew what I wanted to do with what. But even the indented pieces, I still created some of them as thickness. So everything had some thickness to it, right? So it started off as 2D, and then you say make 3D, and it does this basically. Sometimes it does it really, really thick. And then I'd squish it down and then use that so that it would intersect with the underlying surface of the shield and create these embossed raised elements and boolean them together, or dynamesh them together, whichever. And I think I booleaned a lot of them, because then like this carved in area that's like all the way around the ring, the outer ring, that was all creating a solid piece and then using boolean to subtract that from the shield to create this area. But also did back and forth, like, because I wanted it to flow with the curve of the shield, so I didn't want it just to be uniform like a cookie cutter, like cut in at one level, but then the shield curves, so then parts of it would be deeper and parts of it would be more shallow. I wanted it to be uniformly depth, even though it curves. So the way I did that was I used the shield as a negative. I used the shield as a way to cut. So I created this very ring element, this very whatever looped ring element. I created that first as an alpha with thickness. And then I used the shield to cut away from it so that it would have the same shape as the shield, right? So its bottom would have that same curve cut away. So it's not just like a square, but it would have the curve of the shield. And then I inverted that again. Then I used the part that I chopped off from the shield, or that remained, and then I used that to insert gently into the top of the shield, and only to the depth that I would want it, and then turn that as a negative and use that to subtract from the shield. And then we have this nice consistent depth of this engraving area, this carved in area here, ringing around the entire shield. So there's a bunch of different techniques. You just got to learn how you can interplay with Boolean and make 3D from alpha. I'll show you quick so you guys know what I'm talking about. So let's come over here and let me find an alpha. Just anything here will do. Take this thing. Let's see here. So just do this. Depth resolution, just make that like 5. Mesh resolution, let's go crazy high. And then mesh smooth, don't want smoothing. And what is this? Double-sided, yes. Alright, so make 3D. It's going to process, and here we go. So it looked at this alpha, and it has gradation, so all those, that's why it's not a clean, that's why there's not, gradation means when it's going from white to black, anything in the gray will be a decreasing slope, right? So if you just had it like white and black, like hard, 100% white here, 100% black right next to it, that'll be a negative. Black will be hollow, will be empty. So that would have created an empty space here. So again, I'll show you that too. So this has that flow because of the gradation from white to gray before it hits gray again and turns to white again. But if you edit your alpha, so you go to modify, and we do, see here, intensity. Let's crank up intensity. I'm not sure if anti-aliasing has any effect on how it translates to 3D. Okay, so now we're going to decrease this intensity a little bit. What else? Contrast. See, actually, maybe contrast might be a better option. Maybe both. I'm trying to remember how, because this is weird because I created mine straight as it was, not editing anything in here. What else are we looking at here? Strength. That's okay. I think these actually. That's not so much the. Okay, well, let's just try this. This should create segments. Yeah, so there we go. Again, it's not high resolution, it's rudimentary, but this just shows you the general process that I used for what I did with them. So once you have this, if I increase the thickness, so if I went back here and say max depth, let's make it 10, double what we had, and go again.
make 3D. It's a bit wider, as you can see. And then if we go even more, and I think it looks a little chunky too because of the way I crushed the alpha. But you know, you can start with this. Let's say you wanted to do that, and then you just subdivide it. You know, now we're at 6 million. So yeah, so it's a lot of resolution here. It just looks chunky because the alpha staggered, but you can see here how dense. It's a pretty dense mesh. So it just looks all stair-stepped and pixelated because that's what happened with the alpha. So it wasn't a, you know, I drew a very detailed alpha. That is how I wound up getting the, you know, elements for the shield. So imagine doing that for this, and then you just insert this into a disk, you know, and then you would either subtract using this to subtract after you touch it up, or Boolean together, you know, and you can edit this thing too in a certain way, or you can just like, oh, I don't like those tips or whatever, so you just blam, flatten it down. And this is going to take a second. Probably should have done that because, all right. Oh wait, that's what I wanted to do, but it didn't. It didn't do it. What the heck? Yeah, maybe I should undo. Why did it wait, it divided, but it didn't add a subdivision. That's weird. That's weird. It didn't add a subdivision. Will this work now? There we go. So you can do things like this where it's like, all right, so you want certain things flat. If your alpha has, you know, some gradation to it, but you don't want it to be so to a point or so weird and janky, you can flatten it out using the, you know, clip curve brush. And this is one of several ways you can do similar processes. But this is how I started out with my alpha, and created those elements. Yeah. So there you go. Is there any way you can control the thickness of alphas? Yeah, I think I just went through that. Mask and inflate, I guess. No, I mean there's a depth thing in there. Yeah. Any layers or morph targets to play with options yet? What are your thoughts in regard to making fan art of example anime characters, but doing it with a realistic rendering with your own style, and later on making it commercially available as a garage kit? Are there licensing issues concerning such uses when the original design is changed? Could be a huge help for me right now to start a career in making money to pay for software. Thanks in advance. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you're just doing it on your own, I mean, if you're selling it, yeah, I mean, technically, if you want to be legal, you know, being completely legal on the above board, you know, the law says like any reproduction of someone else's copywritten work without permission is not technically legal, and that's technically super fine technical detail that's considered copyright infringement. But you know, certain things that are generic looking enough, you know, that you know you can skirt around it in some ways. You know, especially if it's an animal. But copyrighted characters, like if you do Mickey Mouse, you better be ready for that heat from Disney. But if you're doing a known anime character, I mean, I guess the reality of it though is, you know, of course the legal side of it's that you shouldn't be selling them because you're making money off of someone else's IP. But the reality of it is that, you know, a lot of companies will not come after you, or at the most they might send you a cease and desist letter if they see you're making a lot of money or you're selling them for a lot of money. Maybe it's not even a lot. Sometimes they just are a-holes. Some of them are just dicks about it. Because the challenge, I mean, I get it. The licensing issue is because they own the rights, of course, so they need people to license it from them so that they make some money off of everything sold. But people who are small businesses who don't have a huge volume to sell, they don't want to give a license to them because they're not going to make a lot of money. And then you don't want to get a license because they want to charge you like thousands of dollars for the license. And so then you're never going to make that back.
usually, or not until you've sold so however many. So it's just like it's a catch-22, meaning then that you're going to create all these people who love this property, and yet they're not going to be allowed to create it and then have people who, I mean, recreate it and then have people who love it buy it from them, even though they're both mutually willing. They're essentially kind of cutting out the middleman, who is the copyright owner and the IP of the IP. So it's a tough situation. I mean, the legalese of it all is be like, don't do it, but the reality of it is, a lot of people do it everywhere, left and right, and until they get caught or told not to do it, they continue to do it. And they can be really like Nazis about it at Comic-Con, and I've seen that happen. And and these companies have lawyers or people who just are their spies, essentially, that act like regular customers or attendees just to walk around and find who's copyright infringing their stuff, or like, and it's usually people that are harmless. Like they're usually often selling something or making something that, any character that I've ever made, that I've loved, whether it's some dinosaurs or like my Trico model, no one, even the professional made work, doesn't come close. I mean, the professionally distributed, mass produced products, they never come close to what my stuff has done, or what anyone else has produced. When it comes to, usually, artists create, when they work on something they love, they put so much more attention to detail and quality into that work. It's usually like 1,000 times better than anything that they hired someone to do, or a company to do, which doesn't love that product, doesn't love that property, and they just are like, oh, it's a job. Okay, we can make money from this for this client. All right, we'll make whatever garbage they want, and it's garbage usually, or it's mediocre. It's just really just average, like pathetic, or just just nothing special. It's just a product, a toy, or like low detail work. It's rare when you find people that have the time and put in all that love and energy into it, and they've actually been paid for it by an official license, like a company that had a license to work on that product. That's when the stars align. Most of the time, a lot of us work on IP that we're not big fans of, or that we're not in love with or enamored with, but it's a gig, it's work. So I mean, if you're putting all that love and care into it, and it's, again, legally, don't do it, but reality is like, until they come after you, it's sort of like, well, I mean, if there's really no competing, the other thing that seems to me like that makes a lot of sense is like, if there's no competing product like directly of that quality, or that caliber, it's like, what do they care? They're not making it, so, but yeah, so I mean, at this time, man, it's hard times. If you got to make some money and you got to do it by selling an anime character statue, just do it, whatever. I mean, the worst that'll happen is they'll just say stop, cease and desist, or shut down your Etsy store or your eBay or whatever. Not your eBay, but like your sale. And that's that. You slap on the wrist, I mean, because it's not like you're not going to be making millions. And while the law is not about how much money you're making, it's just it's just right or wrong, or yes or no. You're not selling drugs, man. You're not selling crack to kids. Like, there could be far worse things to do to make money. So, but that's my, so that's my 2 cents, I guess, if that makes sense. Go for it. See what happens. Nothing that bad will happen, I'm sure. At the most, you'll get a cease and desist letter, email, whatever. They're not gonna sue you or come after you. Really, there's no benefit for them to do that. Sorry, just reading chat. Yeah, I mean, you can do that too, of course. You can always just do fan art. I just hate calling it fan art. Just, I mean, that's what it is, I guess. But it's just, whenever I hear the word fan art, I usually, that immediately connotes, that brings up to mind just some really horrible art. Like, this is my fan art, and it's like some garbage drawing, you know, it's just something that, just, I hate saying that too, because it sounds, it sounds totally mean. But I mean, it's, you know, it's true. There's a lot of crappy art out there that no one, you know, whoever worked on it didn't put a lot of time into it, or is maybe not a really, you know, is not really taking their art that seriously. And they produce something mediocre or just terrible. And like, look, I'm a fan. I made this. It's almost like, look, Mom, I drew you a picture, and it's like crayons, you know. And you know, but so I don't want to crush those spirits. But it's like, yeah, a lot of fan art is often not good. But then, of course, you know, there's certain sculptors and artists who make amazing fan art. I just wish they call it something else. Just art. It's art inspired by X. You know, saying fan art, I just hate that. I hate that phrase. I hate that wording. It just feels like it just lowers the quality. In my mind, it just sounds bad. But yeah, you could create your artwork based on the property and put it out there. You know, you could even just send it to the company directly. Find out who their art directors are. You know, who their product designers or management is. Send them your portfolio with a bunch of work that's similar or is exactly their character, if you would like to work on their stuff, and say, hey, I do this professionally. If you know what you're doing, just tell them in general, like, what experience you have and how much you love their product or the license they have or whatever, and that you would love to just give them some kick-ass work for that IP. And yeah, you could get the job. You could get the gig. You know, it's possible. It doesn't always happen, sadly. You know, like I really was going after working professionally with asking Sony, like, where the people who were connected with them, like, where the collector's edition of The Last Guardian was going to be sent, like, who was going to get that. And I was pushing to do it. But they just kind of were like, oh, it was vague, or they say, well, we have some vendors we don't know yet who, and blah, blah, blah. And it pissed me off, because then eventually I met the artist who made their version of Trico for the Clash Codes edition, and he saw mine, and it was just, he even told me to my face, he was like, dude, I think yours is a lot better than mine. And I was like, thanks, man. I mean, I put a lot of love and effort into it, but I'm sure that, you know, I took a year or two to work on that thing, like, on and off, because I was doing it in between full-time work at studios. So I took as much time and love and care as I could put into that thing. So that's also why it looked a lot better, I think, is because I took all that time. I'm sure he didn't have that amount of time. I'm sure he probably had like a month, maybe, you know, a few weeks, maybe a few months, depending on the timeline. But usually they don't give you months and months and months to work on something. You typically have tighter deadlines for statues and that kind of stuff. I mean, often I found, you know, they expect a deadline in maybe a month, you know, or a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the timeline. But it's usually not like, hey, take a year to do it. Of course not, you know. So I think, you know, I can't fault him for that. But it was just frustrating, because I'm like, man, I would have just crushed it, you know. But so I did it on my own, and whatever. I'm gonna give it to a couple guys at Sony as gift, but simply because I just love the game, you know, and it'd be nice for them to know who I am a little bit more. A few of them, you know, but a lot of them I've already communicated with, and they know who I am anyway. So it's like, it's not so much to create a connection as it is just to say thanks, and just to give them something that I put a lot of love and effort into, that I know that they would enjoy. But it was a hell of a lot of work. So yeah. Yeah, go for it, man. If you want to send your stuff to that company, though, whatever company makes the property you want to work on, go for it. Do it. Can't hurt. Some companies, if they're a-holes, they'll just say, like, stop doing that. Please stop using our IP, period. And it's like, all right, well, your loss in the end. If you want to help make them money, and you're giving the fans what the fans want, because you are a fan, and you probably understand the IP better than their idiot lawyers who are just robots following the rule books, obey the law at all costs, and in doing so, they're defeating, you know, giving their user base or their IP the, you know, TLC that it deserves. And they're just shooting themselves in the foot, really, which is a shame, but it happens all the time. Yeah. Yeah, Vasquez, I'm not hating on corporations. I mean, I'm all for companies succeeding. It's just a shame that so many companies own IP and they hire up the wrong vendors, or they always wind up hiring, it seems like almost always they always hire the wrong people to work on projects because it's either they don't know of, or they don't respect, or they don't know the people who love the product who can also do the work professionally, and so they wind up hiring just some generic, shop or house or whatever to do the work, and that house doesn't care or know about the product either, or the IP, and they just create whatever they're told, but they don't put that passion and that love into it, so it creates a weird, there's a disparaging difference between the quality of the product, the end product, and what people would have hoped it would have been, and what it could have been if they would have hired the right people to work on it, people who actually love that product or love that IP and know how to do the work well, technically, professionally. But yeah, it's like, I feel like there needs to be a better way to connect these two, the artists or the people who are passionate about the IP and can do the work, and the companies. They need to figure out a better way to figure that out, because it's just so consistently terrible a lot of times. It's just a lot of products are mediocre, and it's because they just don't hire people who love it. They just hire people who just want a paycheck. Legal nightmare. Oh, good quality, because it shows my skills. Hate the term. Yeah, you hate the term too. Yeah. Yeah, sure, Miguel. I hope it's helpful. Patents. Yeah. Or helping people that care about them. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Vasquez. And it's annoying. Like, that's the thing, man. So many companies, I'm talking about film, comics, and everything. Just art, visual art. So much of it is just owned by corporations, companies, and all these, like, freaking monkey lawyers, just come along and, don't do that. Oh, here's a form letter. Oh, don't stop. It's like, dude, you don't care about this. You're just doing what you're told. You're just being a good robot. Like, ugh. You make me sick. Like, you get paid so much, and you can't even do anything that a lot of artists can do, and you make so much money just to tell them no, basically. I mean, I'm sure they do a lot more. I know. I had a roommate who went to law school and all that, so I mean, I get it. Lawyers are a necessary evil, but man, some lawyers really just take their job a little too seriously for crap that's like, it's not harming anybody, and it's not even harming the shareholders, because it's like no one's making that much money that they're pulling anything away from their companies. But yeah, some copyright for that kind of stuff, it's so stupid, because even the creators, a lot of times, they love seeing that stuff, or they don't really care if people are making money, because they got theirs. They got what they needed out of they sold it probably to this corporation and made a buttload of money, and are laughing all the way to the bank, and are already moving on to some other project, some other personal passion project that they want. They're done with it. Sometimes they're even sick of their own IP, so they're just like, oh yeah, do whatever, I don't care. But still, I mean, a lot of them love it too, and again, they wind up having to work with companies who don't love it, who don't care. The companies view them as a commodity. They view them, their brain, their ability to create, as just a paycheck, as just money. Oh yes, make this for us, we love your stuff, and they praise them with all these accolades, but they don't really care. They just want them to make the money, and it's just kind of sick. It's sad. It's really sad and kind of sick, because that's how a lot of corporations operate. And again, I get it from a business standpoint, but just from a personal standpoint, it's sad, because there are people who genuinely love some products or some work that was made, and it really touches some people, and yet they can't share their love and their passion or their ability to create amazing artwork based on said property because of some a-hole lawyers and blah blah blah. So anyway, sorry, I'm just being negative. It's just frustrating, because I think we all feel the same kind of annoyance. There we go. Great little thing to pull out in your UI is backface masking. So that's how I did this, because normally if you don't have backface masking on, so like I was able to paint a mask directly in the same spot that was unpainted below. But if I didn't have that on, if I turn that off and let me free up that spot again, so there, this in the center. So now if I paint a mask, looks great here, but then, whoop, all that stuff went through. So the way to fix that is turn on back face masking. And that lets you affect one side without affecting the other. It's great. Okay, just gonna do a little raising here, and then I gotta jump off actually because we're at time. It's too far. What I really need to do, but I need to make this like, I almost need a lower res version of this, but I can't do it now. Because the whole thing has a slope that's like, it's like a bubble. Kind of, it all kind of raises up, and it's like a gentle, so what I really need to do is, let me bring this down to subdivision. Grow the mask. But it's like this whole area needs to be extra dark, and then this area just needs to be moderate, you know. Interesting, as I'm growing it, I'm seeing all these other little spotty areas there where I thought there was no mask. That's weird. It's strange. Sorry, just hearing some music I like, so I'm just taking a quick note of it. Anyway. Yeah, this is kind of what I was going for. Yeah, right about there. And then I'm going to do the same to these inner parts, this inner area here a little bit too. Slightly. Very slight. But it's just going to be the same process I did right here. Repeated, a little bit tighter, a little bit sharper. Just on this inner side. And then we move on to some other bits. Anyway, we are just about at time. We're a little over. So, yeah. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I hope some of this was fun and insightful for you. I'm going to keep going on all this stuff. And, yeah. Hopefully I'll see you guys next. I think the next one is going to be, my next stream is either Tuesday or Sunday next week. I got to double check because we're making the new schedule for October. So I forget if it's the 6th, I think, or something. We'll see. But I'll post it on Instagram. You can check the calendar on the ZBrush calendar as well. It's the producers, not the lawyers. Yeah, it's a mixture of them. Yeah, for sure. Because they got some lawyers who are just out there on the hunt, just attack dogs. BB Tuesday, I think. Yeah, it's one of those. But I am going to try to do a stream this week or two of just doing something that's not just work. So I'm going to try to do a stream of finally of either, I think I'm in the middle of, like, I've been playing a little bit of Crisis Remastered and it's fun. So I might just start streaming that from where I'm at instead of redoing the whole thing. And then I'll move on to like Crisis 2 and Crisis 3, just sort of play through those. I think each one you could finish in like 10 hours, so I might just do like 2 or 3 hours for one stream and then same down the road. So follow me on Twitch if you want to check out some of that. If you want to just laugh and watch me play some games murk some fools, kill some terrorists. Do you know a website for concepts and inspiration besides ArtStation or DeviantArt? ZBrush Central. Come on, man, if you don't know that. I think that's right. Yep, go to ZBrush Central. But yeah, for anybody, if you want to follow me on Instagram, please do. I'll post regularly about what I'm streaming next or what I'm doing. Or just share a little bit of my life on there. Trying to grow that following. So please, if you're not following on Instagram and you don't mind seeing some nice art now and then or good photos, please follow me on Instagram at Daniel Lion Arts. If you have any extra questions that I couldn't get to, if I can, I will get to them via email. Feel free to email me there. And if you want to hop on Facebook, I'm on there too. It's Daniel.DeLeón. And it's facebook.com/ I believe that's correct. Yeah, that's about it. Goldie Ames, love your work. Nice watching your stream. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And Vasquez, thank you, sir. You too. All right, everybody, be well. Stay well. Take care of yourself. Get out there. Get some sunshine. Eat some chocolate. Hug some puppies. Try to stay positive, guys. Take care. I wish you all the best. Talk to you later.